What up, nation? Welcome to episode 6 of the WiseTake Nation podcast. CK013 here, joined by the two OGs. First up, the triple OG Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe. Ref, Joey, my man. How you doing, bro?
Doing well, man. It's episode 6. I feel like next episode we need to do like a big one because it'd be episode 7.
Yeah, it will be episode 7.
We got to do something. Yeah. So but yeah, episode 6. Just chilling, watching these Monday night game kind of wrapped up a little bit. Hanging out,
and doing dirties. Speaking of dirties, we are also joined by the GOAT, the true OG, Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, what's happening on this Monday night, Tuesday morning, depending on who you're asking?
True that. Good, man. It's a good night of football. Just, it don't matter what teams is playing. It's lovely. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say that about a San Francisco Giants, Milwaukee Brewers game. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you can give me any two teams in the NFL going at it, and it's just like gloriousness.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I know all of us watched the first Monday night game. Was just awesome, man. Just an awesome fucking football game, man. Two good quarterbacks, two good offenses, just going at it. It was just, and then Drew Brees. Did you see the extra point thing though? Like that was crazy. The running into the kicker thing, like that was wild, man. That was like,
I know,
but he would have missed it anyways, even if he didn't hit.
Oh yeah, he missed it. It was it. It was like on the follow through.
Yeah, he's just saying that would have made the game tie, not as much pressure.
Right.
And all of a sudden it was like, nope, they get a do-over, and now they had
right. Maybe if it's a tie, the Saints aren't as aggressive on that drive. And I don't know. I mean, they were pretty aggressive with very little time, but that kick was just, even that kick, man. Like that was a nice kick. Was it 58 yards? That was a solid kick. Granted, in the dome.
Yeah.
But, and like let's miss one earlier. Like it was just a crazy. Like it's just wild, man. Just a wild fucking game. Anyway, that concludes week 1. As soon as these Raiders and Broncos, we got a lot of flack, Paulie, for the Raiders pick last time, and we did those picks that were up on YouTube for like before the Antonio Brown situation, which I wrote in the description.
Correct.
Like it was before, like at the time you and I talked about it, that was a situation. But here we are. It's the fourth quarter. It's 9:21, so it's not over. 39 seconds left. But the Raiders very, very impressive nonetheless. So. Shout out to you, Paul. I know you were a big buyer on the Raiders, and you had said to me, which these people watching YouTube may not know. If you remember the WiseTake Nation, then you do know that Paulie still liked them after, even after the AB situation. So
on the Wise stream, I rescinded the shutout win, but I said they'll still win the game outright. But I didn't think it was going to be like a lopsided blowout, which This is kind of a blowout. I mean, they haven't allowed a fucking touchdown.
They're clearly controlling the game. They're clearly like controlling this game.
Yes. Exactly.
Patio Joe, also a very successful week 1 for you as well. I know you had the double touchdown Delaney Walker call. You weren't on episode 5 of the Nation podcast, but you were on the NFL podcast, first one of the season. I know the Delaney Walker 2 touchdown call, Patio Joe, and that's just the cusp. We'll talk more about week 1, but just a great way to start off the football season, right? Like it just feels good.
Oh yeah, it was the first time we even did the who's going to score 2 touchdowns.
The first ever in WiseTake Nation history, and Patio Joe got the lead. Nailed it.
When I saw the first one, I was like, "Oh well, he got one. I'm good. He got one." And then when he got the second one, and then the wheels just came off. It's like it's a perfect segue to talk about into week 1 because I thought that the Cleveland Browns were supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread because now they got all these great offensive weapons and Baker Mayfield is supposed to be a franchise quarterback and Nick Chubb is supposed to be the best freaking running back in the league and they have Odell Beckham now and Jarvis Landry. They're back together, the friends. Like, what's the problem? And then they roll up a dud against like a good team, like they're a disciplined playoff team in the Titans, but I wouldn't put them in like the upper echelon of teams in the NFL. And they absolutely rolled a dud. And Baker Mayfield in the press conference after the game said, the media is going to write us off. Well, if we're a part of the media here at the WiseTake Nation, yes, I'm writing you guys off right now after week 1. You guys look terrible. You should have at least, like, I cannot believe that they should have won that game easily. No Taylor Lewan as their offensive lineman, and they let Mariota just tear them up. They let freaking Derrick Henry run for 85 yards and a touch, and then a 75-yard touchdown catch. I mean, they were probably one of the biggest disappointments of the week by far was the Browns.
Paulie, who was your biggest disappointment?
Biggest disappointment?
Jameis is up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But Paulie kind of saw that coming because of the pass rush issues they demonstrated in the preseason, or the protection issues they demonstrated in the preseason. So I know that was something that Paulie was expecting.
And we also saw that Titans thing. That was one we predicted on this show 1 week ago today as well. But I would say the Pittsburgh Steelers were the biggest disappointment for me. Like, I didn't expect them to win, but I thought they'd put up more of a fight, and they just got dominated.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, how much of that though is like just New England, just how good they are, their defense, their offense. Like, Brady barely played in the preseason, just didn't matter, just super efficient. Josh Gordon looked awesome. Edelman still got a ton of usage and looked great. They had 3 different running backs that were all functional, that they were able to throw and work in there. James White was catching a ton of passes. They just looked awesome. Like, I don't know if like Pittsburgh really like had a chance to even like, it's like it's a situation where like you think, because like Paulie, even before the season started, you were telling me how good Pittsburgh defense like is on paper. On paper, they have a phenomenal defense, and it's like. So I think like they just expected their defense to give them a shot, and they saw very quickly. All right, we got no shot. Like, we have to keep pace with them. That's not happening. You know what I mean? We need them to keep pace with us. Like, we need them to slow it down, play our kind of level of play on the road. With Big Ben's home and road splits. But I agree, it was disappointing that they didn't make that more of a shootout. But how much of it do you think was like the Steelers like not showing up, and how much of it do you think it was like the Patriots are just that good and they were home? And
I think it was there's more of the Steelers not showing up. I don't think the Steelers lose 33-3 that often against any team, even the Patriots. But if not them, then I guess my other pick would be the Atlanta Falcons. Like, their offense pretty much did nothing, until the very end of that game, and they were never in that game against the Vikings. So that was another disappointment.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Joe, what are your thoughts on the Falcons? Did you catch wind of that game at all? They were like, they got nothing. I mean, they got I think a couple touchdowns, missed the extra points. But they were just awful. They couldn't get anything going. Any thoughts on Atlanta? I mean,
I wanted to bring up one other thing about Atlanta Falcons. Week 1 of the 2018 season scored 12 points against the Eagles, and Matt Ryan still went on to lead the league in passing. And Julio went on to have a good game. So they put up 12 points again on Sunday. So this is just, my point is that I'm going back to week 1, and we're going to overreact, you know what I'm saying, as we always do to week 1. And look what happened. I mean, Fitzpatrick, tore up the Saints last year. And, Travis Kelce finished as like tight end number 10, and it's just, there's all these things that we take in week number 1, and we blow it up because we have nothing else really to talk about, really to go on. So,
yeah. Well, I'm not saying like, I think they're like bad. I'm just saying they disappointed me this weekend. Right. If you played Matt Ryan in DFS, you were looking for more. If you played Julio, you were looking for a lot more. Like, that's all. Like, I'm not saying they're done, like, like you did to the Browns.
It's over, bro.
But, those are my disappointments.
Like the bombshell you just dropped on all the Browns hopefuls out there. Shake and Bake's a Brown fan. You might have just ruined the season. Like,
well, you got to think, like, if you're a Browns fan, you got to be thinking, everybody in the world, this is our freaking year. Like, this is going to be it. We're at least going to make the playoffs. At least 8-8, right? Boom, right. And they lose by 30.
Yeah.
30.
Okay, to a mediocre team at best at that. Yeah.
Guys, if you're a Browns fan, like how dejected are you? You're like,
Yeah.
The absolute, like literally, I had Browns fans for the first time ever posting where they were going to watch the game on Sunday. The game. They're not going to do that anymore. All right. I'm sorry. Like the Browns, like, okay, you guys got your nice little off season. It's great to win the off season, but it's just. It just goes to show you, like, what it's funny. I go back again. 47-3 last year. The Ravens beat the Bills. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going back. It was 59-10, but we brought it up on Saturday night, Paulie. How like I was kind of like going on the Ravens even more because like they play the preseason to win and they were ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And it shows. Like they were just. I mean, obviously, that's another question. Was it the Ravens or was it the Dolphins? I think it's both. The Dolphins are going to be the worst team in the league this year, but the Ravens, man, like Lamar Jackson hit Hollywood Brown a couple times, and I mean, he's probably the fastest guy in the NFL. So if they can cultivate that talent, they're one of maybe 2 or 3 teams that I think can challenge the Patriots this year.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Agreed.
Interesting.
But I do think a lot of that was Miami. They're going to be a dumpster fire.
I mean, they're already calling their agents to trade.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that after 1 week.
And
well, you know what though? I kind of get it, right? Like to me, it's like, especially this day and age. Look at Andrew Luck. Look at like your career could end tomorrow. So do you really want to waste? Like if you find out that this team's not even trying, you look at the roster around you. And like a week before the season, they trade away their starting tackle. Like you see the moves they're making, and you're like, okay, you tricked me. You made it seem like I was here to try, and like you're not trying. I'm here basically as a holdover, so you can get your draft picks at some point and replace me. And you're getting the best years of my career, and I'm wasting them here. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of understand why, again, just in an era where everybody is so aware about the short lifespans. Like, when players back in the day, they didn't think about this kind of stuff. Like, you look at some of the quarterbacks like Favre, and they played forever, it seemed like. Steve Young and all these guys, it seemed like they just played forever, and you just never really paid attention. And nowadays, they're very, very conscious. And we're seeing guys like Andrew Luck, who appears to be in the prime of his career, just choosing not to because they're aware now of the concussions and, like, having a life after football and seeing the after effects. So it's like, I kind of understand, being like, okay, no, that's not what I thought we were doing here. You know what I mean? But,
yeah. I mean, they traded away more than their starting left tackle.
Right.
They traded away their best pass rusher. Right. They traded away their best receiver. Like it was like, yeah, we got to make sure we lose every game.
Right. They traded for Josh Rosen just to back up Ryan Fitzpatrick. Right. Like, it's like,
yeah,
we traded for Josh Rosen, who Arizona just was like, nah, you know what I mean? That's like, we'll just eat that one. It's just like moving on, you know what I mean?
Yep. They were like, we've seen this before. This is Blaine Gabbert all over again.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, let me ask you a question. You were talking about who were you just talking about before? That you were saying the Ravens. Okay, the Ravens specifically. Were they the team that like surprised you positively the most, or is there somebody else out there that kind of shocked you because we all thought the Dolphins sucked?
The team that surprised me the most last, in a good way,
like a team you're like, oh shit.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking over the scores right now. Yeah, I mean that was interesting. I think maybe I'm not as jazzed because I don't really have much like shares of them in fantasy. So it's like, ooh, yeah, there's a good team. The team that I had some shares on absolutely put up a dud. So it was the Buccaneers. So I guess, the Cowboys looked pretty damn good. They looked a little bit better than I thought, but maybe that's another case of the Giants just being bad also. Everybody else kind of status quo. There's nothing really that stood out to where I was like, wow, that team you really have to take notice. I mean, the Ravens, obviously, they have another cupcake matchup this week, so it's going to be probably another easy win. We won't really know to see how good they are. But, probably the closest thing that maybe stood out more in a good way is we might be bagging on the Browns and some of these other teams, but the Bengals held their own with the Seahawks pretty damn well, and they gave you a scare in the Survivor pick.
Yeah.
They gave probably almost half the country a scare in the Survivor
yeah.
pick. So I don't know. Maybe the Bengals might be a little bit better than we thought they would. That they thought they were going to be.
That's interesting. I was impressed with like John Ross. He showed up big. I mean, last year he kind of looked lost as a rookie, and he went on the road, made some huge plays down the stretch, and even their defense was able to like somewhat contain Wilson enough. Paulie, let me ask you a question. What was your most surprising in a positive way, like thing, takeaway?
Yeah, in the similar path as like the Bengals, Arizona, looking like they were going to get worked, 17-0, turn around and coming back, ending up in a tie, and also the Redskins getting out on the road all over the Eagles, forcing them to go into desperation mode. Those two teams, big underdogs, and they were probably the most positively surprising teams for me.
Yeah. No.
Kyler Murray, all that hype, and like they were down 17-0, and then 24-6, and he rallied them back, and like that was impressive. And then the Redskins, like not only did they have nothing to start with, and they lost their starting running back, and like they still I know they ended up losing, but they performed way better than I think anybody expected.
Yeah. You know what was interesting to see in that game too was in the beginning, like it was like Kyler Murray, when the offense is moving, it shows you like how valuable a player like Fitzgerald still got it. Dude looked great, right? Ended up with a pretty good a pretty solid fantasy day. David Johnson started off extremely slow, but in the end of that game when they scored all their points, like it was just those two guys just eating. It was just just boom. So I also think that it kind of showed value in that offense. Like there is still something out there. And if you have Fitzgerald, even in season longs, if you have him sitting around on your bench, it's probably worth giving him a start or two. And with David Johnson, I think that's a sign that like it's not like last year. Like at the very least, it's not like last year. Like you have a chance because the Cardinals did use those guys very, very much to come back. So that was a good sign. All right, let's get into week 2. We are going to start off with the Thursday night football game, the prime time game, which is the Tampa Bay Bucks visiting the Carolina Panthers. The spread in this game is currently Panthers minus 6.5. The total in this game opened up at 50.5 and is down to 50. Joey, my man, I'm going to start with you. Give me your best bet for this game. It's Tuesday, so like to full disclosure, it's Tuesday. Actually, it's Monday night, really. So this is like a first look kind of deal. It's something we do just to kind of get everybody thinking about the upcoming games. If you want more information, you can always find us in the WiseTake Slack chat. Things like that if you're a WiseTake subscriber. But anyway, now that the disclosure's over, Joey, on your first look, first impression of this game, what would be your best bet?
What's the line?
Panthers minus 6.5. The total is 50. It's 50.
50. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, my first look is I think Carolina's going to roll them. I think they're just going to feature McCaffrey and the more professional quarterback, the more mature quarterback, believe it or not, between the two is Cam Newton. And he's not going to make the bad mistakes. We have Jameis Winston coming off of a bad week in a new system on a short week, too. So on the road, I'm taking Carolina and the points. And I think I would probably go under the 50-point total, too.
Okay. Paulie, what do you think?
I think the other way, honestly. I think Tampa Bay, got their dicks kicked in, and
they got embarrassed. I mean, two defensive touchdowns. I mean, it just was bad.
Yep, I know, and I think this is a better spot for them because they do have talent, right? And Jameis, like, from trailing spot, like I think they'll make a backdoor cover. I don't think they win, But I really I'm not I think Carolina has one player, it's McCaffrey, and the Rams put up all kinds of yards and scoring on them, and McCaffrey fought them back, but I don't think the Panthers are really that good. So especially if this can get up to 7, I would be looking at Tampa at 6.5. It's probably something I don't have that much interest in. I think I would be looking at the over.
It's interesting. I think if I had to pick one thing, I would go with Joe on the under in this game. Now, I'm a little worried that me and Joe are on the square side as far as the percentage of bets or whatever. I'm sure the public is also on the other, only because this is a quick turnaround. You know what I mean? The Carolina had a grueling game, and granted they are home, so they get an extra day in there, but it was pretty grueling. And like you said, I agree with you, Paulie. Their offense is Christian McCaffrey. Now, don't get me wrong, that dude is good enough to certainly go over the total by himself, but with a lack of weapons around him, and not for nothing, but it's not like the 49ers drove the hell out of that ball. I don't know if it's the Niners or if it's Todd Bowles, but the defense was a little bit different for Tampa. It wasn't as dreadful. Again, they didn't play anybody quite as good as Christian McCaffrey, and they will. But I could see two teams kind of being sluggish, kind of short turnaround, kind of struggling. It's hard to fix your problems in 3 days. You know what I mean?
That is a good point about Thursday night games. I'd say 12 out of 16 were low scoring dud kind of games last year, and then the year before that. So that's definitely, and it's because of what you're talking about, the short turnaround. It's hard to get ready for a game in 3.5 days.
Right. And also even with Bruce, new coaching for Tampa, especially, right? It's not like Bruce Arians was sitting in this division, just plotting around. He's about to find out, but we're going to go into best bets for Sunday's main slate, so we'll talk about the primetime games later. In the meantime, we're going to go to the best bets, 3 best bets I want from you guys on your first looks into Sunday's main slate. Paulie, I'm going to start with you this time. Give me your 3 best bets.
All right. I will take the Redskins at home getting 6.5 points. I can definitely get behind home underdogs, and I think that they are, much better defensively than the New York Giants, and the Cowboys won't be able to score at will on them, and the Cowboys will be on the road. Amari Cooper's numbers were drastically worse on the road last year. They're not going to be on turf. I like the Redskins at home to kind of continue to impress and maybe not win, but definitely cover and continue to grind away, surprising the public and doing better than expectations. Next up, I like the over in the Jacksonville-Houston game. I was really not impressed by Jacksonville's pass defense, and that is where Houston really thrives. And then I was impressed with this rookie Garner Minshew quarterback, completed 22 of 25 passes in a game he wasn't preparing for to play in, and just got thrown in there, and continued to move the ball. Now, the Chiefs were just so dominant that they did not, ever really contend. But I could see this game having a bunch of scoring, and I think 43.5 is just a little bit too low. And lastly, I will take the Buffalo Bills over the New York Giants. I think these are two teams heading in completely opposite directions. I think the Bills are on the rise. Very impressive comeback win against the Jets, and the New York Giants just look god-awful. I mean, if you don't put up a fight against the Cowboys, who are you going to put up a fight against? And, this is a New York on New York rivalry game, and I just expect the Bills to be able to win, by more than 2 points.
Okay. All right. Joey, give me your thoughts if you have any on Paulie's picks. If not, go ahead and give me your best bets going into the weekend.
Yeah, Paulie's picks. I'm not seeing the 6.5 points for Washington. I'm only seeing -4.5 and -5 on these Vegas odds. Maybe I'm looking at something different, but I'm looking.
No, Maybe you're right. I'm looking at.
I think it opened
line.
at 6.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's what, it's 5 now. I'll still
like,
take the Redskins though.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm with it. I kind of like Dallas a little bit more over Washington, but I can see where he's going there. The Buffalo, is this like, it's Buffalo opened up at the Jets and now they're opening up at the Giants too. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
It's kind of ironic. And another thing about this week too is the Saints travel to LA, and then I would imagine that they're just going to stay on the West Coast because week 3 they play Seattle. So that's going to be interesting. The Saints got coming up in the next few weeks, but and I definitely agree with the over on the Jacksonville-Houston game. We got Watson's going to come and just light up maybe this Jacksonville secondary, and Paulie brought it up in pre-show how this backup was throwing the ball around a lot for Jacksonville and looked pretty good. So hopefully that will keep the offense moving. What I'm going to go with is I'm taking the points and the Patriots against
the lumber,
Miami.
laying the wood.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm taking the Patriots. Like literally, AB's going to play. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just going to want to just put the hammer down. Like Bill Belichick does not care. He is just going to put something on the throat, and then they're going to win. And then my second thing is I like the Tennessee Titans taking the points at home against Indianapolis -3. I just think that they're going to run the ball with Derrick Henry all day and just keep getting him all day involved with Delaney Walker too. And there'll be a minus. They'll win that. And then finally, I'm going to take the over in the Arizona-Baltimore game. I think that's going to be a little bit more exciting than 10 points. I think Baltimore is still going to run up the score against Arizona. I think Arizona's defense is god-awful. And I think the play calling that Darrell Bevel had yesterday was terrible. Like they should have won that game. Like Arizona, like Detroit lost or tied that game. Arizona didn't really come back. Like Detroit let them in. It was such a bad thing. Like Kyler Murray lovers are gonna like point to that, but like that was more of this Detroit like collapsing and bad coaching at that point. But I just think that Baltimore is just going to run up the score against Arizona, and Arizona is going to score a few points at the end to make the over, and it's an easy over, 46, whatever it is, 46.5.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my 3.
Fair enough. My 3, I'll make it quick. I like Pittsburgh this week. Paulie, like we discussed before, I was disappointed in their showing, but I'm still pretty high on them on the season. I still think they're going to be a contender in their division, and I expect to see them in the playoffs, whether it be the wild card or winning the division. So I think we're getting some value. Seattle barely won against the Bengals at home, and while I am impressed also, Joe, by Cincinnati, I am more impressed in a negative way with how bad Seattle's defense was. You know what I'm saying? Like that impressed me more. I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody had warned us that Seattle's defense wasn't going to be so good, and I was pretty amazed that those guys were doing dirties whenever they wanted. They were good against the run. But, I don't know. We know about Big Ben's home and road splits. I expect to play better at home. Assuming Juju's good to go, he does have an injury, so we're going to check that going into the game. But I think 3.5, like, you're telling me the Steelers, in my opinion, is still one of the top teams in the AFC. You're giving me, against Seattle at home where they just destroy teams. I like that. I'm going to roll with them.
I like the over in that game a lot too. Like I think that's going to be a good DFS spot for DFS.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could totally see a game script of the Steelers kind of controlling the pace in Seattle, like training. What happened?
Somebody wrote something in the chat.
Oh yeah.
You gonna tell us what it is?
The dude on the right is on coke or some upper.
Who's on the right?
You.
It's on the right. Who's on the right, you son?
That's awesome.
Right. I love it. That's why it's there. That's why the chat is there. It's for pick me ups. It's to lift your spirits.
Very
The funny thing is, it's like this is the one time I'm really not on anything. That's so weird.
It's just Paulie D, man.
Like 97% of the time, I am.
It's
You know,
just-
you would have been right.
It's just it's just boom. What do you know?
Oh, boy.
What are you gonna
But
do?
yeah, I'm gonna go Pittsburgh #1. My second pick, I'm gonna go with the Green Bay Packers at home against the Vikings. I thought, Joe, another thing I thought was interesting. You were mentioning about the Atlanta. You didn't want to overreact because last year they sucked in Week 1 too. So I'm kind of with you on that philosophy. I think that it was more the Falcons kind of really not showing up. I was impressed that the Packers pulled out that win against the Bears, who I think is a very good defense on the road. And yeah, I'm gonna go with the Green Bay Packers -3 at home. And then my last one, I actually, as of now, I kind of like Arizona. I think in the NFL, double digits are very tough to cover, and Arizona is not Miami. Like, they're gonna, if they showed me one thing against Detroit, they're gonna keep fighting. This Kyler Murray kid has got nothing to lose. He's just gonna go out there. His team could be down 31, and I think this kid is still gonna go out there and fight to the very bitter end. And I could just totally see a backdoor type situation. Don't get me wrong, I think the Ravens will do well, but I think that line is kind of juiced off perception a little bit. I kind of like the Cardinals in that underdog role, looking for that backdoor. So I'm going to go with Cardinals +13 as my third one. With that said, it is time to move on to the Sunday night game. And I think we have a really good one, actually. Really good Sunday night game. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles -1 on the road. 51-point over-under. Joey, back to you, man. Who do you got in this one?
I'm taking the Falcons and the over this time.
Falcons in the over.
Yeah. Falcons in the
High
over.
scoring shootout in the Atlanta Dome.
It's Sunday Night Football, and it's just, I think it's just gonna. They're gonna come out jazzed, and they're mad that they didn't. You know, they're gonna be throwing to Julio like that. Like Trey McLaurin, guys. Trey McLaurin. Okay. That's all I have to say. Trey McLaurin. Do you know who he is before? Because only the people that were in fantasy really know who Trey McLaurin is. He absolutely torched the secondary last week. On top of, Case Keenum threw for over 300 yards. He's like QB number 2 right now or something. Like, he did way too good. So that just means more that the Philly secondary is bad, like always. So Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and then on the other side, it looks like, Wentz is going to be able to put up points at will. D-Jax on the turf is going to be able to, blow off that secondary, because if everybody remembers, before D-Jax got hurt last year, he was pretty damn productive with Tampa. So this game, I think, is gonna be much more higher scoring than last year's opening game was.
Yeah, I like it. Paulie, what do you think?
Yeah, Terry. It's Terry McLaurin, not Trey, but
Great, yeah.
Dude's a stud. Young receivers had a huge week 1. There's a handful of them out there, but you said it was Eagles -1 or Falcons -1?
It was actually the Eagles -1 on the road.
Eagles -1 and 51. That's really tough. I think I would have to side with the Eagles, and it's hard to make that pick. Like the Falcons starting off 0-2. But I just think the Eagles are a better team. Like, I was really impressed in a negative way, as you said before, with the Falcons. I thought that they had a chance to even beat the Vikings, and they got the ball run down their throat, and the Eagles have weapons all over the field. Another rookie, what's his name, Miles, very impressive. Yeah, balled out. They got the tight ends. I just think they have too many weapons, and the Falcons are kind of going through a change. Like they have a new offensive coordinator, and things like that do take some time to get rolling. Whereas the Eagles, are doing what they've always done. So I think I side with the Eagles, and I'll take the over just because I think it's a little low. I envision both these capable offenses being able to put up points, and if the Redskins are able to put up 28 points on the Eagles, I would assume the Falcons should be able to do something similar, even if they are losing that game. I think it'll be very close, but the Eagles and the over will be my pick.
I like it, man. I think that the over is probably going to be consensus at this point. It's going to be. I think if there's one thing we saw, it's both of these defenses are not as good as we thought they would be. Right, Philadelphia probably the more disappointing because they were home, number one, and number two. I think Atlanta. We didn't think was a good defense. We just figured they'd be better than last year. Whereas the Eagles, I think we all kind of felt like they'd be a good defense, and so maybe that's like the whole perception deal, and this total is just like should never have been this high. But I kind of like Joe's concept of this. They saw. And they met each other last year, and it was like a very low-scoring affair. And this time in the Dome, I could see it being super high-scoring. So I'm not gonna pick a side yet, but I am gonna pick the over with you guys. So I think it's a consensus on the over, and then a split on the side, and we'll leave it at that. Now for the Monday night game, which, guys, full disclosure, I will be going to this game. Me and Shake and Bake, the wives, going to the Monday Night Football game to see my New York Jets host the Cleveland Browns. This line is currently the Jets are plus 2.5 at home. We've got a 46 over under in MetLife Stadium. Paulie D, starting with you this time. Talk to me about my boys.
Jets in the over.
Jets in the over.
I think Cleveland's defense is not very good, and the Jets defense may be decent, but very young, mistake prone, and Buffalo really made a lot of mistakes, interceptions off tips, whatnot. I think Buffalo, could have put up many more points if not for a lot of those mistakes. So I think Cleveland, is going to come out motivated, wanting to win on the national stage, and they will put up points. And I think the Jets will do the same, put up points. Le'Veon Bell running all over them. If Derrick Henry can take a 75-yard screen on them, I think Le'Veon Bell and the rest of the Jets offense, which I'm very bullish on. Crowder, what do you get? 14 targets. This could be a spot where Robbie Anderson pops off. I like the Jets at home on Monday night, and I love the over.
That's what I like to hear. Joey, agree, disagree? What do you think?
I like the over, but I think the Browns are going to win this game. I know. But what's the spread right now?
2.5.
2.5. So, but are they going to cover? Yeah, they'll probably. I would love it if the Jets were to go. If the Browns were to go 0-2, I would love it for them to 0-2. I just would, really would. But I think that they're gonna, because the Jets, I feel like they're just gonna find a way to lose again.
Right.
They did last week. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I feel like telling you there's.
I know. That's the feeling that I'm having right now. Just so you know.
Yeah.
It's not just you. It's that you're doing this. This isn't like something like.
I hope they win for your sake because you're going to go to the game and everything like that, and So I hope they win for your sake. They could. I mean, they're going to have to really heavy. I mean, Bell played 100% of the snaps. Jamison Crowder was the first player ever in NFL history to get 14 receptions and not over 100 yards. But, I mean, it seems like that's where their defense is going to go. They're going to funnel that defense and then, or their offense. I mean, they're going to go to Bell and they're going to go to, Crowder. And then maybe if they want to go deep, they go Robbie Anderson. And the tight end is a guy who used to be from the Texans,
yes,
right?
Griffin.
Yeah, Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, Ryan Griffin. I mean, who knows? It might be Ryan Griffin day. I mean, if Delaney Walker, Delaney Walker only played 54% of the snaps or something like that. He didn't even play most of the majority of snaps, and he got 2 touchdowns, 55 yards, 5 catches. So, that means that they obviously they see the matchup that they can beat. So maybe Ryan Griffin would be decent play too. But you just got to imagine that Cleveland's going to rebound. They have too much talent, and it's Odell coming back to New York too. So that should be a little interesting. Even though it is the Jets, it's still going to be those New York fans giving them hell. So it should be interesting next Monday.
Yeah. I mean, it should definitely be a lot of fun. I'm super excited to be going.
I have a question though. Am I hosting? Is it me and Paulie next week doing this show, or what's the deal? Because you're going to the game.
I'll probably be home. What is it? 1:30 in the morning right now. Yeah. I'll probably be home by then.
Okay, so we're just gonna have to wait till the game's over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, which even today, there were 2 games tonight, and we didn't start this show until well into that second game. It was already so the first game would have been
Guys, I think that we need to keep with the movement, and we need to have them get rid of Thursday night games and just have them put 2 Monday night games.
Yeah, totally. 2 Monday nights.
Or a Saturday night game, but the Thursday needs to go.
Yeah.
One quick comment on the Jets. The C.J. Mosley acquisition was really barely talked about this offseason, and he was all over the field, and it's going to really drive that defense and make them a solid team as the youth gets acclimated to the NFL. And I think by the end of the season, that's going to be a very good defense.
I'll say this. I agree with you, Paulie. I'll say that I as a Jet fan, I did watch that game, and the Jets had multiple opportunities to win that game. Sam Darnold missed a couple key throws, deep open, throws that I think an experienced quarterback of his caliber doesn't miss. So I think there is something to it. Maybe they kind of got to get Jalen. They weren't expecting that kind of game script, right? They were their game script was working. They were winning 16-0. Le'Veon Bell was doing work. They were killing clock, and they just kind of got shocked at the end. Their defense looked good, and there's a couple bad plays at the end that led to scoring. So. But even on the comeback, that's the difference between a veteran Drew Brees who's been in the game, been in this situation millions of times, and a rookie or sophomore, we'll say Sam Darnold, who just doesn't have that kind of just yet. But there were a couple key plays. Robbie Anderson, he missed wide open down the lane. That at the end of the game, that would have won the game for the Jets. They would have came back and won that game. So it's they're just a young quarterback gonna have to have the growing pains. I do think betting wise I would take the points with the Jets. I just don't think there's enough value in the Browns at 2.5. I think that the Jets are the home team. I think these teams are pretty even as far as where they're at. Very similar. Both are undergoing new coaching, new offenses, very young quarterbacks. Granted, I'll give you that, Joe. They do have Odell Beckham. I don't consider Landry a mega star. I think he's a very good receiver, but I don't consider him a mega star. When you really look down to it, it's like Le'Veon Bell. They got Nick Chubb, but Le'Veon Bell. You got C.J. Mosley on defense. They got some stars. It's just not as notable, maybe, especially with a guy like C.J. Mosley. But I think it's a close game, and betting-wise, I just want the points. I'd probably buy it up to 3 if it wasn't too expensive and just take my +3 at home and go with the home dog. But this was cool, man. This is really cool. There's one more thing. That's actually it, for the bulk of the show. We are going to do the Survivor picks, which, Joe, we're going to cut you in on. We said last week was your bye week. You had to do, the last, the getaway before the winter thing. And so I think Paulie last week, yours was the Eagles, who gave you a scare in the beginning, but at least it was pretty clear they were going to win towards the end. You were in a much better position than me. I was sweating my balls off with Seattle, literally sweating my balls. I'm I cannot believe Seattle is going to fucking lose this game to the Cincinnati Bengals, and John Ross just caught 2 bombs on these fools. But anyway, 1-0, Patio Joe. This will be week 1 for you. We're going to make our Survivor picks. Joey, who's your team?
Patriots.
Patriots, yeah.
Patriots.
I love it. Paulie, what do you think, man? Are you going to go with the Patriots too, or do you think that...
No.
Yeah, you're going to save them? Save them for a rainy day?
So, number one, yeah, if you're, in a one for money and you do survive, to weeks 9, 10, 11, you start to run out of good teams to use, and having New England on deck when no one else does, because they're going to be like in the vicinity of 70-75% owned in these survival pools this weekend, because there's not that many double-digit favorites like we had last week. Like, it's just such an obvious spot, but you never know. And like, it would be glorious if they find a way to lose that game and Miami shocks the world. I think Miami did beat the Patriots last year, similarly, like not as big underdogs, but
No, it was in Miami too. It was that crazy
like
at the end.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you never know, and like that's how you separate and like win in some of those pools. So I'm gonna find another team to use, and that is going to be the Ravens.
Yeah, the Ravens are the clear pivot, right? The people that either already used for whatever reason the Patriots because they're Patriot marks, or don't feel or don't want to waste the Patriots, are probably going to go to the Ravens against, right? Like it's the next biggest spread. And like that's the thing with the survivor pick in comparison. Like when you know what the spreads of these games are, if you take a team with a close spread, you almost feel like you're getting ripped off. Because you're throwing the spread out the window. You have an opportunity to take a team that has a higher winning percentage, a higher percentage of winning that game. So, like, I mean, like, here's what I mean by that. I want to say the Steelers. That's the bet that I feel the most confident on this week. And even to me, telling me they don't have to cover the 3.5. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're telling me they don't have to cover the 3.5. They just have to win the game. That makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. But at the end of the day, by doing that, I feel like I'm getting ripped off. I feel like I'm ripping myself off because I'm taking a team that Vegas doesn't think has as high of a percentage to win. You know what I'm saying? And like on the other hand, I don't want to waste the Patriots because the Patriots are one of the best home teams out there. There may be a week I need that down the road where they're in a home game. I needed to risk it. I don't know. This is a gimme, Joe. I agree with you. Like I don't see a way the Dolphins beat there's no way. They're not even trying to win. So that's like this is a gimme.
Right.
If you're feeling confident about your situations going forward, go ahead, lock in the Patriots, you'll deal with the rest. But I'm gonna try to get a little and like I mean, come on, what do you think is the Patriots? It's 95%, 98%? Like come on, how many of the
it's gonna be high. Yeah.
I'm gonna roll with the Steelers since, our whole philosophy at one point was putting your nuts on the table, baby. I'm gonna do it. It's not even like I'm not even taking. I'm not even taking an underdog. It's like I'm talking about a home favorite.
Wait, taking an underdog is just like a brain dead thing to do. I think this early on, later in the season,
it's like not that crazy.
But I think that's interesting because Russell Wilson, he's magical.
He is.
Very risky.
I'm just really confident in the Steelers, man. I think that perception is really low.
They need to win.
Right. I think perception is really low on them, and if I can, knock that out. Because that's the thing about the Patriots. We look at the Patriots' schedule. They got a really easy schedule, especially through the first, 9 weeks or so. So,
yeah.
I'm going to do that dirty.
Yep.
But, in reality, I should go with the Ravens. If I'm not going Patriots, I should go with the Ravens. That's the truth. But we'll put some nuts on tables. I'm going to be out by week 3. Fuck it. I'm the host anyway, so fuck it. I'll just...
TK's gonna be eliminated.
In week 2, baby.
Week 2.
I did it for the Steelers. Yeah, I'm gonna love that one. But anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. I'm gonna kick it to you guys each for closing thoughts, and then we'll let it run. Joey, tell me what's on your mind, bro.
Oh man, I'm going to Vegas this weekend seeing Bruno Mars, so I'm kind of pumped up about that. His last farewell show at his residency, so I'm no kids, so I'll be partying. I'm excited, so that's what I'm gonna be doing.
Mars doing it big though. Paulie D, kicking it to you. What's on your mind?
I don't know. Nothing's on my mind. But this is fun, and football is life, and there's really nothing better. And I think it's awesome you're going to that Jets game. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm digging it.
Did you have a Jet jersey that you wear to Jet games?
I mean, I got Jet jerseys, but they got. I think most of them don't play for the team anymore, and I can't do that. I'm not the kind of guy that'll wear. Once you're not on my team no more, bro. It's done. It's done. You know what I mean? I would wear. Don't get me wrong. If it's
if you were gonna buy a Jet jersey, who would you get?
If I was gonna buy a Jet jersey, I think the smart move at this point is either a Sam Darnold or a Le'Veon Bell, because those are the two guys that are going to be here for X amount of time. Le'Veon Bell with contract and Darnold. I think as far as my preference, I'd probably go with Bell. You know, I probably would. You know, I'm past the days like there were times where like I can say like Nick Mangold. I bought my dad a Nick Mangold jersey once. You know what I mean? Like that was solid.
that was
you know.
cool.
But this day and age, man, with the way these teams flip, and now the Jets got new fucking jerseys. They went out and switched their whole uniforms up on me. Just got me looking out of date and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just. I'd probably stick with something a little more, you know, something I know I'm going to get a few years out. So I would lean towards Bell, I think. Yeah.
All right. That's what's up.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, don't forget to check out the DFS podcast. We will do a First Look DFS podcast on Wednesday night, covering FanDuel and DraftKings, cash games, GPPs, all that goodness. Should be a lot of fun. Very, very excited for week 2. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on so you are notified whenever we do another, you know, cool ass show like this or any other cool ass shit that we do. If you're watching on or listening to us on Podbean, iTunes, whatever the case is, subscribe. Give us some 5-star reviews. You know the drill. For Patio Joe, for Paulie D, or myself, the entire WiseTake Nation. As always, good luck.
Yeah.